online school. In our sex education corner today, we want to talk about why parents need to talk to their children about sex education, or why children need to talk to their parents about sex education. It's a common topic we talk about every week here because we want our young teenagers to have the right sexual information about themselves and about what goes on in their body and what goes on out there about sexuality. So today we want to talk about why parents need to educate their children about sex education. I'll talk about a number of points, and in my next episode I'll talk about why so many parents are shying away from teaching their children sex education. Why do we shy away from it, most especially in Africa? Now let's look at what we have today. In our next episode we'll talk about that. Now, one reason why parents need to give their children sex education, or why children need to take sex education from their parents, is one, they get the right information. Out there in the world there is information overload. And remember, sex education takes care of different ages. You don't give the child sex education all at once. You cannot teach a 7-year-old child or 8-year-old child what you are going to teach a 15-year-old teenager. There are information that is adequate, sex education information that is adequate for a preteen, and there are sex education information that is adequate for a teenager. So if you started from the preteen with the little information they have to get till they become teenagers, what you dish out will be more. So you give them the right information. They don't get such right information from peers, and they don't get them in bits before they get it all from you. So parents need to give you, as teenagers or as preteen, adequate information you need to get through this age or through this topic of sex education. 2, it helps children avoid and it protects children from misleading information and risky behavior. Every family have family values and have family boundaries on how a child is supposed to behave. And your parents will tell you the sexual behavior that is appropriate and inappropriate. And so those behaviors that are risky as a young girl and behaviors that are risky as a young boy, they will give you all of this, and it will protect you, put you in the real light of what you're supposed to do. So that's why your parents are your best teachers. Remember that they are your first school. They are your first teachers. And so they are going to give you adequate information to make you behave well when it comes to sexuality issues. Number 3, it helps the child have knowledge and skills they need for a lifetime of good sexual health. Like I said earlier, every stage has its own information. So when your parents give you this information at each stage, it helps you to build up your sexuality values. And these values you get from them from a young age will help you as you get older, as you become teenager, as you get into young adulthood, and it helps you to build a better sexual education that will help you to get through life with such information, and you can pass on this information to your young ones in the future. 4, maintain and support your child's level of comfort in discussing sexuality related issues. You know, as a parent, when your child is not comfortable with a discussion, you know how to terminate that, and you know when to initiate such discussion. As a parent, you have the opportunity of having open communication with your children. So there are some things they will ask you, you will bring it up. That time they will not be uncomfortable listening to you. But there are times you will bring it up, they become uncomfortable having such discussion. So as a parent, you have the description of knowing that this discussion is uncomfortable to this child at this time, and it is comfortable to the child at this time. So you have the liberty to know when to bring up those information. So your support system, your pre-knowledge, and your knowing them well help you to bring up this discussion when it will be comfortable for them. That's why your parents are the best people that can give you sex education, or your guardians who know you better. 5. Your child may likely want to talk to you about things. Please, parents, this is where we said have open communication with your children. Some parents are defaulting in this area. They don't talk with their parents. They are too busy. Career men and women. Even if you are pursuing a career, please have time for your children. They are your assets. The asset you are trying to pursue and get for them, please, they are your first asset in the home. Go and build this asset first. Because if they default at this time, everything you are building will go down the drain. They will waste it for you. So please, handle this asset you have well first. Have an open communication with them. So the children are likely to tell you about stuff that happened to them, either in school, changes in their body, what somebody have told them, the information they've had somewhere. They will be more open-minded to tell you what is happening, and you will be in a better position to correct the wrong ones that they have put into their system. You help them to delete it and help them to imbibe the better one. So please, have an open communication. Have time for your children. We always hit on these parents. I think on our counseling corner, we're going to talk about how parents need to spend time with their children, because we're seeing that a lot of young individuals are complaining of not having adequate discussion and open communication with their parents. Also come up in our counseling corner. Now we'll talk about the next one. Recognize boundaries. You as a parent know the boundaries you've set for these children, and so they understand these boundaries, and they know how to properly behave around these boundaries, and you can use these boundaries to teach them a lot of sex education lesson. Let them know that there are boundaries. There are people you expose some kind of information to. There are people that are not supposed to touch some of your body parts. Set boundaries around them. Put up a wall around them when it comes to sex education and what they need to do. When they understand these boundaries set by their parents, they look at it as family boundaries, and there is nothing you can do to make them break such boundaries. So parents, please recognize these boundaries and build it around these children. Then the 7th one is talk to them about body changes before it starts happening. That's why we said each stage of a child's life, have what you teach them. Pre-teen, as they are growing up, let them know that changes are coming. Let them not see these changes as a threat. When they understand that changes are coming, they see these changes and they embrace it with open hands. But when they are not exposed to these changes, it becomes a problem. A young girl starts seeing his cycle for the first time. You see the child crying as if there is something wrong with the child. That's because the home did not do its job. So parents, mothers, fathers, do your job. Handle your children well. Tell them what they need to know at an early age, so that as they are coming up, when the things happen, they understand that I already know this. My parents have told me. Tell them about sexuality. Tell them about sex education as they are growing. When they start seeing the opposite sex having interest in them, they don't see it as something too big. When they start showing them love, giving them validation, they've already gotten the validation from home, and they know that this is what these people will tell me. That's what my home have told me. That's what my parents have taught me. They don't see it as something extraordinary. But when you don't teach them and they start seeing it, it becomes a whole wide world for them. All right? They will be less vulnerable to exploitation and sexual abuses when they are well taught. They won't fall into sexual predators. They won't fall into sexual abuses. They will be less vulnerable if you bring forth this vulnerability to them, discuss about this vulnerability to them. When such things happen, they understand how they are going to go through it. They understand how they are going to handle such situation, because you've created a scenario that looks like that in their mind. And so when it's happened, it's not a new thing, it's a revision for them. And my parents have told me this, so let me take the other way around and cut off this. They will be more comfortable and they will tell you how they triumph over such issues. Alright, so they will be able to make informed and responsible sexual decisions later in life. Later on in life, they look back and they are happy. It will help them to make good decisions when it comes to sexual matter. They will know when they are just doing it. They will know when they are unaware. So they should be well informed so that when they take such decision, the consequences boil down to them, because it's not as if they don't know, they know. And when they know, they handle situation better. And lastly, helps them to delay sexual activities. If you have not watched our topic on handling a sexually active teen, is on the channel, go through it. You see, children who understand their sexuality tend to delay sexual activity. They know when it is right for them. But if they are not well informed, they can jump into it and go and experiment. But when they know about it, there is no experimentation. They just want to do it because they think they are ready to. So these are the 10 points why parents need to discuss sex education with their children. 1, they get the right information. 2, help children avoid and protect themselves from misleading and risky behavior out there. Help the children have knowledge and skills they need for a lifetime of good sexual health. Maintain and support your child level of comfort in discussing sex education. Your child may likely want to talk about things with you. Recognize boundaries. Your child recognize family boundaries that have been set sexually. You talk to them about body changes before they happen. They will be less vulnerable to sexual situation. They will be able to make informed and responsible sexual decisions later in life. And the 10th one, help them delay sexual activity. So that would be it in our sex education corner for today. Please, parents, talk about sex education with their children. We want them to navigate well. Next episode, we will talk about why parents shy away from teaching their children sex education and why they shouldn't. I'll see you in our next episode when we'll discuss other issues. Share the videos, like, subscribe if you have not. Thank you for being here.